Shalom. First thing and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakam. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. New as in the gospel, broad lifting up the standard. Every Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through His Spirit. Lord's will to be edifying. It says, we're screwed US dollar scenario explained for former World Bank director. I believe this is a older clip, not too old, but within recent time of this guy, Sean Ryan, which I believe he was like an ex-CIA operative or some type of ex-Navy SEALs or somebody. I don't know, but a lot of these Edomites, man, they pride themselves on being part of the armed services. Which, Sean Ryan, I don't know. I believe he's an Edomite. Then again, he may be a Jake. Who knows? Who cares? But he was speaking to this World Bank director, which this dude is totally juiced in. And a lot of the things that he said was full of shit. If you see towards the end of the video, what's his name? Eric Bethel, which I believe he may be a small hat. Who knows? But anyway, towards the end of the video, he's going to basically try to blow it off and make it seem like America has a chance, but it don't. But he's only allowed to say certain things because, he's set up. Especially if you're a director of a World Bank. Yeah, you're totally juiced in with the Fed. All right. But anyway, this is a 17-minute long video, and I'm not going to play it all, but this is a damn good video. It brings insight to what's happening, and he breaks down as to how the U.S. debt and pretty much they are in danger of defaulting. Because he broke down the analogy and it's common sense. It's apples and oranges. It's 1 + 2 = 3. Let's say if you make $80,000 a year and you spend $135,000 a year, then clearly you're going to be in a deficit. And they got a term called rob Peter to pay Paul. So a lot of times when people get in debt, they'll take out credit cards to pay off one debt, not knowing that they have more debt with the credit card company. And it's a repeated cycle. And this is the reason why China and these other nations are selling the treasuries off, because they don't want to reap the financial ruin of Babylon the Great. This is why they're selling the treasuries and dumping the dollar. This is why it appears the prices of goods are going up, because the dollar is being devalued. And basically, we're getting ready to see a collapse. All right. But it's a controlled collapse. It's a controlled demolition to some degree, because we know that they're bringing out the old world and coming into the new world. So everything that from credit cards to cash to these particular payment systems through Cash App, all that shit is getting ready to be a thing in the past. And they're getting ready to unravel this new system, which is going to require biometrics and under-the-skin surveillance, which is the chip, to dictate your purchasing and your living habits, man. Okay? So anyway, I'm going to play a couple of minutes of this video. We're going to get some precepts, and, that'll be that. But we're getting ready to see the downfall of the system. And in the midst of the downfall of the system, they're going to try to invigorate a new system, which is going to be in the mid of chaos, hell breaking loose, world war. So they're not going to get a chance to enjoy this new system, because we're at the very end of Esau's world. Okay. So anyway, let's go. Fair use, fair use.
Many, many decades, trade has been conducted using the dollar as the unit of intermediation, right? Whether commodities, the currency that underpin commodities has always been dollars. So when you buy oil's traded in dollars, whether it's in Saudi Arabia or whether it's in the UAE or whether it's in Indonesia. It's a dollar system.
This is why they don't want to piss off the Saudis, because, they're already on thin ice with the Saudis. All right, you got OPEC nations, you got BRICS nations, and the Saudis eventually just going to completely abandon the dollar. They're going to stop using the dollar to portray the petroleum. And, once they lose the Saudis, it's pretty much a wrap. Okay?
And so the BRICS are saying, why should we have to transit the US dollar to trade soybeans from Brazil to China? Isn't there a way that we can do this internally? They're not going to create a currency, a BRICS currency, but they're trying to figure out how they square away the plumbing, the financial plumbing, so that they don't have to go through the dollar as the intermediary. So that's what's going on.
How does that affect us?
Well, if the dollar isn't the reserve currency, we're screwed. Like, we become, I don't know, Argentina it can be very bad. So let's back up.
These meals changed everything for me. I'll admit it, I was skeptical about ready-to-eat meals, but then I tried Factor.
I'll begin with our fiscal deficits, and I'll take this back to why the dollar is important.
Okay.
So right now, we spend $7 trillion. That's the latest budget proposal. And we generate in tax revenue like 4.9 trillion, right? So there's a deficit of, roughly $2 trillion a year. Now, people don't understand unless you can make it real for them. So let's take out a bunch of zeros. Let's assume you as an individual are making 49,000 bucks a year and you're spending 70,000 bucks a year. Well, okay, that's bad. That's fiscally irresponsible. But that's what we're doing as a company.
Yeah, so that's I think he said 49,000 versus 70,000. Okay, so that's what is that? 50, 60, 7. That's a $29,000 deficit right there that you're overspending. You see? So with that being said, you don't have the money or the residuals to pay off the debt. Hence, just like a credit card, like when you overspend on your credit card, then you got to pay interest on that. I mean, any credit card you use, you got to pay interest on it. But if you go over your limit or if you overspend or like overdraft in your account, I remember back in the day, you used to overdraft your bank account. They'll charge you like a $30 fee on top of it, which is stupid because it's just like, wait a minute, man. If I'm overdrafting my account, clearly it's because I can't afford to live right. So that means that you're going to charge me extra, which is usury. And they're reaping what they're sow. All right. That's why this system is a fiat-based system. It's a credit-based system. Because when you have credit is not even real. It's not even tangible. Okay, it's just numbers on a computer. It's just zeros they create out of thin air and say you owe something.
Country. If it's you as an individual in that scenario where you're like $20,000 short every year, what do? Well, you max out your credit card one year. Okay, that covers you the first year. The second year, you take out a loan from the bank to pay maybe your credit card or whatnot. But over time, that's not sustainable. So what happens is when we have a shortfall, the way we generate revenue in shortfalls, other than tax revenue, right? Tax revenues are 4.9 trillion. How do you get to 7? Well, we issue bonds, right? So we sell bonds around the world, and when people don't buy, for whatever reason, the Fed buys the bonds. The Fed is the buyer of last resort. So you've seen the Fed balance sheet basically go from like 4 trillion to like 8 trillion because they're the ones buying everything. Well, how are they buying it? Well, they buy it by printing money. And so the printing presses have been off the charts, certainly since COVID and throughout this administration. And that, of course, has caused inflation and a lot of other problems, which we can go into. Now, the artificial demand for dollars around the world is largely due to the fact that 60% of central banks have the dollar sitting in reserves, okay? And also because the dollar is used as the unit of trade for commodities, for foreign exchange. Like if you want to go from Colombian pesos to, Indonesian rupiah, you have to go through the dollar. If the dollar isn't there, because nobody wants to use the dollar, we're screwed. All that artificial.
And he said they're out of ammo. He said they don't have the ammo. He said in particular, like the armory resources are being depleted because they don't have the necessary means to create these things. So it's not looking good for America, man. This place is falling quick. All right.
Official demand for dollars disappears, and we crater. We're not going to forget financing the next aircraft carrier. We're not going to be able to pay Medicare, and that's when things get really, really bad. And it just takes leadership in our government, in our Congress, and in our executive branch to say, enough. We can't fund everything.
Did you know that 96% of customers recommend the Hartford?
And there are things that, look, we have 88 million people on Medicare, 65 million people on Medicaid, 8 million on disability, 44 million on food stamps. That's like, I don't know, I'm not good at doing math in my head, but that's like a little over 200 million people in America that depend on the government. That's not sustainable.
There's only what, 350 million?
340 million, something like that, 336. So so we have to do something to really rein in our spending. And we're adding $1 trillion of debt every 100 days. And so
Who
is
do
this-
we owe the debt to?
mainly ourselves. We do have a bunch of foreign debt buyers. China had at some point, close to, maybe $1.5 trillion or 2 trillion, and they've been paring that down. They've been selling. Why? Because they don't want to get sanctioned. They learned from Russia. Once Russia invaded Ukraine, we basically sanctioned everything. We took all their money and we're like, okay, it's ours. So when you have a central bank that has dollars in reserves, it's not like there are bales and bales of money sitting in the Russian central bank in a dungeon. It's sitting at the Fed. And so we can turn the money off whenever we want. And so China was like, I don't know that I like this. So I think I'm going to start selling treasuries. So it's a problem. And the debt is a problem for many reasons. We're always issuing new debt, and there's debt that gets paid back. And as we start paying back some of these shorter duration loans and bonds and government obligations, we have to borrow at a new rate. And that new rate is really high. And so, the 3-month, I think, is like 5% and change. It used to be 0. And so now we're borrowing money at higher interest rates, which means we have to pay, our government is paying more in interest on our debt, like over $1 trillion in interest alone. And we're paying 850 billion for our Defense Department. We're paying more in interest, just in interest to service the debt, than we are paying for the Defense Department. You tell me, is that sustainable? We're screwed unless somebody changes things in a very radical way. And in DC, nobody seems to care.
So the people that own the debt are
The Fed,
bonds?
Oh no, the people owe the debt. That's why your shit goes up every goddamn year. Okay, we the one that. What do you think that whole Doge and whole tariff thing was about? We already told you tariff was just an extra tax that they was gonna put on the people, and we was gonna have to front the bill. But when you realize that America is really like in a $300 trillion deficit, because they add $1 trillion every 100 days to the debt, so that's roughly $3.5 trillion a year they add on to the deficit. I'm sure it's more than that. All right, because they're spending more than they're paying back. You see, and the dollar has no value to it, so you can't even pay your bills with it because essentially it's pointless. It's just a reserve currency being backed by the military, and that's it. And people are bucking up against this military because they don't respect it, because they have the firepower now. And this is why they don't want Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon, because they understand that once Iran gets a nuclear weapon, then they have the capable power of fighting back the West. And that's what they don't want, because they have nefarious plans for Iran. All right. So let's get a precept real quick. The book of Genesis 47. And we'll start at verses, because this is all going to result in a collapse, which, it's all being done by design. Okay, the dollar was put on a credit-based system, because that way it gives all the elites the power and wealth of real wealth, while the people, they basically deal with what they call legal tender, which is, solidified from the government, which is not even real money. So if you put everybody on a credit-based system and tell everybody that this is money, you can go ahead and take the real wealth for yourself. Why saying, well, look, take these FRNs and people will be cool with it because you've programmed them that. So they already knew that currency bottoms out like every 100 years or so. And the elites knew that. And this is why they had that meeting on Jekyll Island back in 1913. Apparently you had some rich people or some powerful people that was coming over on the Titanic to, repeal that and to give warning of it. But what happened to the Titanic? It was sabotage. Now it's at the bottom of the Atlantic, but you get the point. So this was all planned. It was already set up to collapse anyway. And by the time the collapse came, the elites would have taken all the wealth. All right. Matter of fact, let's go here to the book of Jeremiah, the 49th chapter. We'll come back to that Genesis. This is the book of Jeremiah 49, and I'm going to start at verses 7. It says, concerning Edom, thus says the Lord of hosts, Is wisdom no more in Teman, or is counsel perished from the prudent, or is their wisdom vanished? Because it's a sloppy system. It's sloppy as hell. I mean, they're running through all types of landmines and hitting walls and corners and curves just to make this thing work. And it's being exposed. And it says here, flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan. For I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him in the time that I will visit him. And the Heavenly Father is visiting this devil. All right? And he's getting ready to bring this devil down quick. We ain't got that much time left, brothers. All right? Esau, he's on his last lifeline, on his last leg. That's why they're going so hard for this New World Order. They can't sleep at night because they know that their end is coming. And just by this man admitting this, they know it. They cook. But it says, if grape gatherers came to thee, would thee not leave some gleaning grapes? Or if these by night, would they destroy till they've had enough? Yeah. This man literally then stole the wealth. What this guy, Meyer Amschel Bauer, which is, I believe he changed his name to, one of the Rothschilds, Meyer Amschel Bauer, which the apostle, I think they speculated that may be Esau in the reincarnation, because it makes sense that if Esau came back, he'd come back through the line of Amalek, because that's the chief tribe, Esau. And on top of that, the dukes of Esau, 5 sons, and then I believe one of the Rothschild, Meyer Amschel Bauer, I believe he had 5 sons, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, you got Evelyn, you had Jacob, you had you got a couple, I don't remember them by name, but nonetheless, these elites, I believe he had like 5 principal sons, and then Esau, he had the 5 dukes of Edom, which is those Rothschilds coming back in reincarnation, which proves that they're the Edomites. Even they got a book called Who Was Esau Edom, and they're able to trace their lineage back to the serpent. So they know what's up, man. They know who they are. You people just don't know. But it all tells it. But it says, if gate gatherers came to thee, would they have not leave some gleaning grapes? And if these by night, they would destroy till they've had enough. All right, so let me do this real quick. Let's look this up. Let's do this. 5 dukes of Edom. 5 dukes of Edom. Dukes of Edom. Yep. So you had the leaders of the clans, including Teman, Omar, Zipho, Kenaz, Korah, Gatham, and Amalek. Now you had the dukes from Eliphaz. Then you had the dukes of Ruel, the dukes of Elohim. Then you had I believe it was, hold on, let me try to find, I don't know what the hell wrong with this Google shit, man. Hold on 1 second. It's that AI shit is crazy. List the rulers of Edom, descendants of Esau, kings and governors. Let's do this. Many sons, and we all know this. I'm just looking it up for edification purposes, so you brothers can get a visual on this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 3. So yep. So you had Eliphaz, Joash, Jalam, Ruel, and Korah, because Amalek is the grandson of Edom. So how many sons did Meyer Bauer? Yep. Meyer Amschel Rothschild, which his name was Bauer. 5 sons, which we believe Meyer Amschel Bauer may be Esau in reincarnation. It says he had 5 sons. All right, which you had Jacob, you had Carl, you had Nathan, Solomon, and you had Amschel. And all these come through, you had Evelyn, then you had Jacob, and you had, David, D. Rothschild, all these men, Rockefellers, they're all the same family, But to show you that these men are back here on the earth today, Dukes of Edom. So that's the spirit, man. The spirit is cold. The Esau is caught. But it says, but I've made Esau bare and uncovered his secret places, and he should not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled when his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. All right. So anyway, let's go from here to the book of Obadiah 1, and let's start at verses 5. And we just read this account. Let's start at 4. It says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence would I bring thee down, says Yahweh. Yeah, now Esau is spiraling head down. That was a video that the Apostle Tahar did last week about Edomite finding a dead eagle, which is symbolic, man. All right, because the eagle is their main moniker, because the eagle is the highest flying bird and it has the most pride. All right, and the fact that the eagle is being brought down, that's the spirit of the Lord. Because even in the Roman Empire, the same way that Rome collapsed is the same way that America is falling, because America is Rome all over again. Okay, it's just the last leg of the Roman Empire. And it says, if thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? And it says, would they not have stolen till they've had enough? And it says, if grape gatherers came to thee, would they have not some grapes? How were the things of Esau searched out? How is his hidden things sought up? Yeah, because the Lord is revealing his devil. All right, and through his monetary system is revealing to be nothing but fraudulent, which is going to be a main part of his collapse, man. Because as this dollar is collapsing and they pull the plug on it and they switch everything to digital and having a chip and AI ran the world, they're going to be in the midst of straits, in the midst of that, because they're not going to be able to enjoy that. All right, because when you look at it now, you have things that's AI led. You have AI systems up. You have a data center that's already up. You have 15-minute smart cities they're building. But once he get this thing finalized, that's when the Lord is going to rain it down upon him. So you ain't going to be able to enjoy no years of no goddamn smart city, man. Because the Lord's going to destroy it. Because that ain't the Lord's attention. But like the Lord said, it's not his attention that people labor in the very fire. This ain't the Lord's attention for us to be living on the planet Earth and we're condensed to a 1,200 square foot apartment paying $2,500 a month, driving vehicles that we got to get registered every goddamn year, eating poisonous foods, man, artificial winners. The Most High didn't intend on us living like this. Okay, this is a system that's set up for failure and it's not going to work. Fake ass snow, trees are dying. It's crazy work, man. Artificial clouds, aerosol injections. The Most High ain't dealing with this place. And you're going to have this devil on this video talking about, well, we need to get back to our Judeo-Christian roots, Christian Judeo roots. When have America ever been really root in actual the Most High? All right, and you can get that Judeo-Christian, that manifest destiny nonsense out of here, because how many Israelites have you slaughtered in the name of Judeo-Christendom? Several history books on that. And your founding forefathers of this so-called country, they were all Freemasons, man. They were a bunch of warlocks. They had slaves and they raped Jake women. For all you slow bellies out there. So this place was never founded on the Most High, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Because if there was, they never would have killed the Gadites and the Reubenites and Iskarites, man. In the Northern Kingdom, they wouldn't have put our people in captivity and beat the hell out of us, man. It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. Yeah, BRICS nations, OPECs, the Saudis. All right, hey, NATO was getting ready to cut Trump off. Blackouts in Greenland. And that's why you got Greenland making mockery of you being on fentanyl, man. Making mockery of you, man, because they said we don't want to be part of no welfare state. And they got every right to feel that way. Why would they want to be part of that? You stole that from God, too. And it says, and the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and have prevailed against thee, and they that call thy eat that bread have laid a wound under thee, and there is no understanding in him. All right? So you have no understanding. Your own nation is getting ready to rise up against you. So you cook, bruh. All right?
The
People buy bonds.
Yes, the notes and the bonds. There's an entire marketplace. Some are owned by big financial firms. Your 401k probably has a bunch of government bonds in it. So it's owned by ourselves individually through our 401ks. It's owned by large corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard and so forth, Goldman Sachs. It's owned by...
Yeah, which those corporations have twice the GDP of California. Make that make sense. How the hell does two corporations have the GDP of an entire state. Like, let's just say if California was to collapse today, America, that's part of America's. A lot of fruit and so forth is harvested in California, like oranges and so forth. Let's just say if California collapsed as an economy, you are already a third of your society is already done, man. How the hell does two corporations, which Vanguard and BlackRock are pretty much under the same umbrella, how they own over $10 trillion in assets, military equipment, assets, records, data centers, you know what I'm saying, brokers, insurance companies, Pentagon contracts, man. I mean, I make it make sense, man. Got this devil Larry Fink that's on here talking shit. Well, we need to innovate the world. Man, nigga, go to hell, bro. Literally. There ain't no such thing as hell. Maybe when we get you in captivity, I'll create a hell and put you in it, man, and let you burn in that motherfucker. Because you devils got to be stopped, man. You completely out your damn mind. This ain't living. Let's go here. Book of Habakkuk. Is it Habakkuk or is it maybe Habakkuk or Joel? Yep, this is the book of Habakkuk 2, and I'm going to start at verses 13. It says, Behold, it is not of the Lord of hosts that the people should labor in a very fire, and that people should weary themselves for vanity. You got a freaking rat race, man. People are literally on a pinwheel going to work every day. These people are getting ready to crash out because they're getting ready to lose their slave jobs, man. They can't make $26 an hour no more now. People getting ready to bug out. Here you got a $300,000 house, a $50,000 car you trying to manage on a $26 an hour salary, which is roughly $54,000 a year. And you got people getting ready to crash out over that, man. They got the people right where they want them. And you people are too dumb to realize it. And by the time you realize it's going to be too goddamn late.
The Fed, it's owned by institutional buyers, foreign buyers like the Saudis and the Japanese. It's owned by a lot of people.
And can they call and collect?
So the way a bond works is I owe you $100. I'll pay you back in 5 years with interest.
With interest on it. And that's all American dollar is. It's basically IOU printed on back of a paperback dollar. That's all it is IOUs. The dollar is toilet paper. You could wipe your ass with it. Now, it is legal tender for now, but when a collapse come, you may be able to use the dollar here and there at certain mom and pop stops or like localities and so forth, and you may be able to barter with it a little bit. Well, you won't be able to barter with the dollar. You're only going to be able to go to like certain stores and buy certain things and have it on hand. But in the meantime, precious metals like gold and silver, that would be the currency. But even then, bartering with gold and silver is like, okay, I give you a bar of gold. What I'm going to do with the bar of gold versus toilet paper versus wine, hard liquor. You know, he may want to sell his wife or his daughter. We don't know. You know, you may need fur skin, sheepskin clothes. You may need candles. All right, you may need toiletries and stuff like that to keep yourself bathed in that day. A gold bar ain't going to solidify that, man. This is why people say, well, silver and gold. Yeah, silver and gold is good, you know, if you have the commodities to back it. But now it's just like you can buy a ton of silver and gold. But when a collapse come, eventually that ain't going to mean nothing. Hell, you going to eat an ounce of silver? You're going to be out here like the Tin Man, bro. You know?
I'll pay you 5% interest a year, and then in 5 years, I pay you the principal. So they do come to collect once the bond is due.
And that's what the foreign countries are doing as well.
Yeah, I mean, well,
They're
you can,
buying so it's all bonds. It is
yeah.
all.
So you have many types of government obligations. You've got a 3-month, you've got a 6-month, you've got a 10-year, a 5-year. You know, so there are lots of bond durations, and there's a giant marketplace for this. People are buying and selling these bonds all the time. It's not like that IOU that you just purchased from me, like I owe you $100, I'll pay back in 5 years. You can take that IOU and sell it to your sister, and your sister can sell it, and then there becomes a secondary market for.
And we believe these are those 5 dukes of Edom. We believe this is Esau, and these are the 5 dukes of Edom. All right. Matter of fact, Esau's 5 sons. I got to go back over this history too. I'm well versed in this history. It's been a minute, but nonetheless, we got the tools to go back over these things. It just, we get so caught up in prophecy, and to the point you don't go over this stuff, you won't necessarily forget it, but you'll be a little rusty on it. But nonetheless, it's just a lot of information. But it says who became leaders of the Edomite clans, these 5 sons of Eliphaz, Ruel, Joash, Jalam, and Korah. All right. So these are this devil's 5 sons, which we believe that's the 5 sons of Maya Amshel Bauer. All right, because when you go into the descendants of Esau, which he had 3 wives, and the Most High told his ass not to marry them Hamites. But also, I believe he married one of the daughters of Ishmael as well, which when you trace the line, you got the Ottoman Turks, which the Ottoman Turks predominantly are Edomites, but they look like Ishmaelites. All right, a lot of them are Amalek too. But Esau's 10 grandsons, you had Teman, Omar, Zepho, Gatam, Kenaz, Amalek. All right, and that's not talking about like, you know, they try to say that Kenaz. I think when you go into what was it? Slips my mind, but we went over this a while ago because you had a different Kenaz in the Bible, which was actually an Israelite. But they'll try to say, see, we told you that he was an Edomite. No. All right, yeah, because they try to say, what was it? Not Caleb. You had Joshua, you had Caleb, which clearly it say that Caleb, I believe he was of the tribe of Judah. But let me double check that because, like, I think my information is quite all over the place. But it says Nathaz, Zerah, Shema, and Mazah, which are the 10 sons of grandsons of Esau. But let's look this up. What tribe was Caleb from in the Bible? Judah. All right, and I believe he was like where'd it go? Yeah, it says here. Yep, this is where they get it mixed up at. It says Caleb in the Bible was a prominent leader from the tribe of Judah. And they try to say he was an Edomite because going into the son of Juned, the Kezanites, suggesting a possible non-Israelite background connection to the Kezanites, a Canaanite people. All right, but also Esau. But no, you had different men that went by. You had several men in the Bible with the same name, man. Just like you had Elijah the Tishbite. He was from that particular landmass, so he was named after that particular land. You know, like you had Simon the Canaanite, man, which he was an Israelite, but he dwelled among the Canaanites, man. So just because you have the Canaanite at the end of your particular name or title doesn't mean you were from that particular land. Like, prime example, I'm going to use a different brother. Like you got, we call him Saint Benji. He's a Benjamite, but he resides in the Chicagoland area. He's a Chicagoan. So you say Saint Benji the Chicagoan. Doesn't mean he's not a Benjamite. He just was born out of Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with myself. I'm a Levite, but I'm from Chicago. So, yeah, Chicagoan is just the landmass I grew up in. Like they say, Yahweh Shai of Nazareth. So that's all that is. Just because you see a person from a different background or a different landmass doesn't mean they equate with the heathen. Just because we lived among the heathen. If that make any sense. So anyway, let's go back up. Habakkuk 2. And let's start at verses 5. It says, yea, because he transgressed by wine. He is a proud man, need to keep it at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and as deaf and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations and heap unto him all people. Right, and that's through the grabbing of lands, resources, enslaving the nations. Hell, going back into the time of the Greeks, when Alexander basically conquered what he would call the Middle East at that time, and he set up his 4 generals, and they reigned in his stead. And then you had the Ptolemaic dynasty, you had the Seleucid Empire, which was at war with one another. But nonetheless, the scriptures go into how Esau spread himself as a green bay tree, man, the wicked. This is the reason why he's in Venezuela, the reason why he's fucking with Cuba, the reason why he's over through Argentina, the reason why he's trying to go in Iran. Same reason why he's trying to take over Greenland. And it says here, should not all these take up a parable against him in a taunting proverb and say, and woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, and how long? And to him that laden himself with thick clay, which is debt. That's why the dollar is failing. It's an uncertain rich. It says, should they not suddenly rise up that should bite thee, and the weight that should vex thee, and thou should be unto booties from them? And the nations are rising up against him now, because now he's declaring war on the world. And his own allies is looking at him like, dude, you crazy. You don't have the necessary means to take on all these people. And you heard what this guy said. I don't know if he mentioned it yet, but basically they're out of certain rounds of ammunition, and they armories is being depleted. So they don't have the necessary means to go to war with all these nations, man. And on top of that, your dollar is being depleted. And then you increase the budget of the military to $1.4 trillion. Like, dude, you crazy as hell. Where you gonna get the money from? Hence, taxes goes up, rents goes up, inflation occurs, soon to be hyperinflation, because once the dollar collapses, things are gonna hyperinflate overnight. All right, a $5 sandwich at Subway, if that shit's still around, that shit gonna go up to $86 for a 6-inch. And that's when people really, and that's what's gonna get these maggots here in America roused up. Once the dollar collapses, and once things get too expensive, that's when people are gonna start to really lose it. That's when supermarkets are gonna start getting looted. People are gonna invade one another for the want of bread, like it tells us in the book of 2nd Esdras. So yeah, people are getting roused up now, but see, people don't mind having their rights took into some degree. As long as they got food and a job and a roof over their head, they cool with that. And that's all these people want. But the minute that they can't afford that rent, which rent is not affordable now, but once that car note goes up to $15,000 a month, and once your grocery bill go from $300 a week to $3,000 a week to afford bread, water, and eggs and milk, that's when people are gonna start. That's when you're gonna see this place really fall apart. And we at that time, we're literally down the street from that happening. You know. And it says, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee because of men's blood and for the violence of the land, of the city, and all that dwell therein, man. All right. So let's listen to some more.
And there's like a giant marketplace of people buying and selling bonds.
Okay. So what does it look like when we default?
Come on, man.
I don't want to be around when that happens. I'll be
is-
in a Mennonite colony in Paraguay, living off the land or something. No, but joking aside, it can get very bad very quickly.
Can you paint a scenario?
Sure. A scenario where it can happen very brief, very quickly, and it can happen over a long period of time. Over a long period of time, people start losing faith in the dollar. Our obligations become less and less valuable to them. Faith and credit in the U.S. dollar becomes impaired. The dollar loses a tremendous amount of value. It depreciates significantly compared to a lot of other places. We see huge amounts of inflation. Perhaps hyperinflation, or it can happen very suddenly, where we just can't meet the obligations of the federal government.
Are you looking for the ideal drone?
And hyperinflation brings in chaos. Hyperinflation brings in famine, pestilence, all that. All right, because things are gonna go left, man. Things are already going left. Let's go from here. Matter of fact, we just read it in Habakkuk. Let's go back to the book of Genesis, the 49th chapter. Genesis 47, Salakia. And let's start at verses 13. It says, and there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of famine. And they're talking about famines. Okay, truckers are quitting. People are losing their jobs. Layoffs are still occurring. All right, the unemployment is they say unemployment was like fucking 4%. It's probably like 5-6%, maybe 10%. There's a lot of people that's not working right now. And then we gonna have a partial shutdown of government. Friday, if they don't come up with the bill, because they want to defund ICE, because ICE has been causing terror in neighborhoods, man. And they were like, look, we're not gonna fund them But Trump already had a funding put aside. They good. I believe ICE budget has been increased by a couple of billion, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that too. Like to fact check these things, so I'll just be throwing numbers out. How much has ICE budget increased? Attention before August. I saw somewhere that it was like in 100 millions, man. But see, all these statistics are different. 2 days ago, okay. Let's look at this. What is it called? Statistica. Okay. So it says, as part of the Big Beautiful Bill, which is the BBBA, signed into law in July, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement received a funding boost that make the federal law enforcement agency with the biggest budget at its disposal in the current fiscal year 2026. So the budget they passed last year, it plays out this year. And I'm sure that all that money they don't use, it roll over or they get kickbacks. And that's budget and everything. But it says, however, it's unclear how much this ICE budget will use in the current cycle as enormous fundings increase will roll over into 2029. It says ICE allocated funds to the tune of around $12 billion in 2025, which left it unused, rolling over funding of $73 billion with $4 billion newly allocated for 2026. It says the agency's theoretical budget for the running year stands around $77 billion, while other calculations put it even higher at $79 billion. See, I was reading something that it was like 100-something billion, but I'm assuming that's like everything because he's increased the military budget by $1 trillion or so too. It's crazy, man. That means that they're getting ready to do something. Detainment centers, and who knows, man? It could be a foreign military at the helm of all this shit. But yeah, the money is he just throwing money out there because I mean it's collapsing anyway. And the more he spend into these budgets, the quicker the dollar gonna collapse because where the money is coming from. And it reads, and it says, and Joseph gathered all the money that was found in the land of Canaan, in Egypt, Salakia, and the land of Canaan, and the corn which they bought, and Joseph bought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when the money fell in the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came into Joseph and said, give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence, for the money felleth. Okay, so they went back to a bartering system because the money fell. Just like today, when the money fails, people are gonna have to barter with goods. All right, you ain't gonna be able to barter with electronics or, you know, you may have like walkie-talkies and shit like that, but you're not gonna be able to barter with PS5 or video games or 75-inch TV because the power ain't gonna be to cut the power. All right. Now, if you got shit like candles and tea lights and, you know, clothing and coats and toilet paper, water, you know, actual things that people can survive off of, matches and stuff like that, lighters, things that can make guns, alcohol is gonna be like liquid gold in that day. Shit, if you got alcohol sitting on your bar, you got a liquid gold mine right there because, hey, somebody may say, well, look, here's my virgin daughter. She's 21 years old, ain't never been touched. I'll trade her for a bottle of Ciroc. Here, you can have that shit. Here, I'll give you 2. You know what I'm saying? So that's the time we coming into. You know, when people gonna literally be selling their wives for a loaf of bread, bro. It's gonna get real grimy out here. And so you women, man, y'all better get in line quick. Cause this coming world, this doggy dog world, you women ain't got no place in the world we getting ready to enter into. We getting ready to enter the wild, wild west for real. And if you ain't got your wits about you, you cooked. And you women, y'all ain't ready for this. I'm gonna just say that right now, man. You know, and us, we can't wait, man. Me personally, shit, hey, I can't wait till this shit happens, man, because you know what? It's about time. You know, it's about time to see where our faith is gonna, you know, we've been in the hyperbolic time chamber training, and I want to see if my training paid off, you know, because the Lord gonna give us that sensual beam, and we gonna be powered up, man. We gonna be able to navigate through the shit, because the only thing we know is solitary and rough hood, man. So it ain't none motherfuckers in the street unalive. I mean, yeah, that's gonna be pretty stressful because it's gonna be all around you, but the men of the Lord, we're gonna adapt quick because we're gonna have to. Hell, shit, we've been in places that shootings occurred right across the street and motherfuckers panicking. We just like, what the fuck going, of course we get out of Dodge, but we ain't in no panic, you know what I'm saying? We ain't, oh my God, they shooting. Nah, we like, oh, okay. When chaos erupts, we don't bug out, man. We observe it and then, the Lord deals with it. But you people, you're getting ready to fall under all this immense pressure. A lot of you Israelites getting ready to fall too, because a lot of you not ready. All right. Let me go. Let's go to the book of James, the 5th chapter. This is talking about these devils here. James 5:1, it says, "Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that should come upon you." Yep, talking about you elites. Okay, you Rothschilds, you Rockefellers. All right, you DuPont, you Gettys, you Schiffs. All right, you Lees, all you illuminary, you so-called illuminary, because you're really not illuminated. You're not the light ones on high. You just were given this knowledge because this is your kingdom. So every kingdom have an Illuminati, if that makes sense. From the Babylonians to the Assyrians, the Egyptians, they all had their illuminated ones because, hell, the hierarchy, they are into know. Just like in the kingdom, we're going to be the illuminated ones. We're going to be the Illuminati in the kingdom. And watch a simple-minded Jake say, who is it? Y'all devils. No. Understand words. Illuminati just means enlightened ones. That's it. The Illuminati today is Esau. Hierarchy, the elites, because they have all the knowledge. They understand the history. They're on high. All right? Yeah, they're a bunch of wicked devils. But the Lord has illuminated these devils in their kingdom. That's all it means. Read 2 Peter 1, when the day star rises in your hearts, man. The Lord is the ultimate Luciferian, which Luciferian goes to the Hebrew word hayallah, which means light. That's all it means, is light. Oh, y'all said that Jesus was a luminary. He's a Luciferian. Luciferian does not mean that you're the devil, all right? Now, you have the devil that took on the harbinger of Lucifer, but that just means light. And yes, the devil today, or the devils on the planet Earth today, are Luciferians because they have the light. The wicked light, that is. Just to make that make sense. And it says here, your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth-eaten. Yeah, the system is corruption. It says your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as with fire. It says ye have heaped together treasure for yourselves for the last days. Yeah. That's why they set up this fraudulent-based system, because they were heaping all the real treasure. Like when they was going to do an audit on the Federal Reserve, did that ever come to fruition? Did they ever do the audit on the Federal Reserve? Not the Federal Reserve, Salakia, Fort Knox. The gold, they was like, well, we're sure the gold is still in there. That gold ain't been in there since what, the fucking 40s, the 50s, whatever. Before then, Fort Knox been empty. That gold is underground in Switzerland somewhere, man. And that gold that they got down there, when we get all that's why the Lord said he's going to vomit up those riches and the restitution he should not be satisfied with. He going to pay that back. That them gold bars you stole out of Fort Knox, which is our gold, by the way, which you stole from Gad and Reuben and Ephraim. All that gold here in America that was here that you discovered, you're going to pay our streets with that. Okay, wealth is not destroyed, it's just transferred. And in the kingdom, we're going back to real riches. The silver, the gold, the precious metals, the rubies, the copper, all that stuff, the land, the cattle, the bodies of water, the land, all that good stuff. We're going to have real money in the kingdom, and you're going to pave our streets with that. And it reads, it says, behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, cried, and the cries of them which have reaped are entering into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. Yeah, we crying every day. I'm waking up to the Heavenly Father asking to get us up out of this system. And I'm tired of working. Tired of paying taxes, tired of paying bills, man. We tired of being on fucking bottom. That's a righteous complaint. And it says, ye have lived in pleasure on the earth and have been one time and have nourished your hearts as in the days of slaughter. It says, ye have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you. And we can't resist you because the scriptures say we're going to go to you for the one of all things. Okay? So, let's read a little more, play a little more, and then we'll end it.
To start your flying journey, meet the AirView drone. A drone for beginners.
So, we have $7 trillion that we need to pay out every year in whatever, right? And maybe we have to fire people. We have to fire the 24 million government workers. By the way, there are twice the number of government employees than there are manufacturing employees.
That's
12 million versus 24 million. So
when you told me that last night, that blew my mind.
maybe we have to fire people. Maybe people have to take a haircut on what they think that they're due. Maybe we can't afford a lot of the social programs, some of which are very important to people in poor communities. And these people in poor communities are saying, well, that was my lifeblood. Like, now I can't buy food. And people get really pissed off.
I mean, maybe if we just quit funding Ukraine.
Yeah, I
Why
don't
is that?
follow the Ukraine Russia as much as I do China, but I don't understand how cooler heads can't prevail and get us to some peaceful outcome. At this point, it's probably too late.
Goddamn right, it's too late. One more precept. Point is being made. Zephaniah 1, verses 10. It says, "And it shall come to pass, says Yahweh, that there should be a noise of a cry from the fish gate, and a howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills." Talking about a collapse. Howl ye inhabitants of Mektesh, for all the merchant people cut down, and all their bare silver are cut off. So, with that, all praises and glory and honor that is due to Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shai. Lord's will, you edify. To the next lesson. Shalom.